to the Property Frontline. Today I'm here with Harry Goldberg from the Purpose Advisory, and we're covering off the topic of being financially forward-thinking. Hi, Harry.
Hey, Debra.
Thanks very much for joining me today.
My pleasure to be here.
Talk to me a little bit about what you do.
Oh, cool. That's a nice broad question to start with. The crux of what we do, myself and my business partner at Purpose Advisory, is where, as financial advisors and life coaches, we merge the two worlds together, throw in a whole lot of education and the like as well. And we work primarily with mid-20s to mid-40s, so the millennial generation, to be able to empower them to live the life they love, or what we've defined as the fulfilled life.
Yeah. So, and it's very unique, the approach you take, because you do start from a financial planning perspective. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, so I come from a financial planning background, or we both do. And we both, myself and Tristan, realize that there are flaws to the system as it is, because it focuses primarily on the financial product, because that's the way that the financial advisor typically gets paid. What's the client going to be investing in, or what type of insurances are they going to take out? And that's where the fees are linked to, which means that effectively the majority of the industry is being paid for the product. And then any way that the advisors are trying to help is primarily doing value-add coaching before they get to the recommendations. It's a struggle to see how much they're valuing that coaching conversation with the clients if that's not something they're going to specifically charge for as something. So we come with a financial perspective in mind, because one of the most important ways to be able to live a fulfilled life is to have the money and the finances and the resources to allow you to stop working or pull back from working or do what you really love, or be able to have an impact-driven business rather than just purely profit-driven. And so finances are a really important piece of the puzzle, but it's not the entire puzzle. And a lot of the previous generation, I guess we could say, was really focused on just making sure they have enough money that they can keep working. It doesn't matter how much they hate the work which they're doing, as long as they can eventually get to a point where they have enough money, and then they can stop it. They can stop working, and then they can enjoy life. And what we're finding for both ourselves, but also for almost all of our clients, that's not the ideal way. And the good news is it's not the only way to be able to achieve financial freedom, or just freedom of life. Yeah.
And that sounds like a really good approach to take. And it is very, very different. And so what are some of the ways you actually help clients?
Okay, cool. Great question. There are three key ways that we do coaching, or three types of in-person services we do. And then we have a whole lot of education with it as well. So the first part, well, actually the last part, is financial advice. For those clients who need someone to tell them what to do, say, okay, tell me all of your financial details and all your information. You give me all the details, and then I'm going to write it down. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to go off and I'm going to research. I'm going to understand a bit about your risk profile. I'm going to create a portfolio or some insurance recommendations or salary sacrifice strategy, or recommendations about whether or not you should be buying property or where that fits into your overall wealth plan. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you, this is what I recommend you do. So this is what you should do. The step before that is strategic coaching. There's not much point in building a financial plan until you have a holistic life plan first. Because as I mentioned earlier, finances allow us to live the life that we love. And so how can we live the life we love if we don't first identify that life, and then also be able to use finances for it and create the finances in the right way? So that part is strategic planning, which involves things like life planning, cash flow coaching, creating a vision for your future, things such as doing investment philosophy and wealth philosophy as well. There are so many different ways that you can build wealth. It's not just work really hard for someone else anymore, and it's not just work hard until you can start your own business and then eventually retire from that. Some people just love the idea of saying, no, I'd rather just do what I really enjoy doing and keep doing that until I'm 85 years old. Fine, maybe I'll never retire, but at least I'll be enjoying it rather than hating my life for the next 10 or 15 years while I scrape up the corporate ladder. There are multiple ways of doing this, right? Even when starting a business, some people do it as a lifestyle choice, while some people do it as more of a, the approach of building up this business that they can eventually sell for an absolute mozza and then make a huge amount of money. Some people would rather just earn money, take money from the side, and they're just doing 9 to 5. They can clock on, clock off, and then on the side, they're doing their property projects or managing their share portfolio. So there are lots of different ways that you can build wealth. And so a coaching conversation is not so much you come to the advisor and the advisor tells you what to do. It's much more the advisor asks a whole bunch of questions and challenges you on what the best way is for you, and then runs you through a framework and a process. The third part is what we actually usually do with clients as a first step, and that's the empowerment coaching. So a lot of people, when they dive into the life vision and life planning exercise, they're like, oh, I don't know, how much of this is just the beliefs which I've always held and how much of this is actually real for us? I'm a little bit confused by all of this. And so we started creating services which focus on our belief set. So our money mindset, for example, what are the beliefs which we hold around money? What are the beliefs that we hold in life about everything? How do we make really challenging decisions on our own? Understanding our personality. That's a big one. I love the personality typing, and we only did it more so for fun with certain clients, and then all those clients are saying this should be a default for all your clients. And then we really focus on behaviors and mindset and our habits and knowledge and skills. And so all of these types of services, we really allow it, they fall into these 3 different categories, and we allow the client to choose their own journey. Which type of services do they actually need? What's the outcome which they're striving for, as opposed to how can we bring the client through a process that ends up in them having a financial product?
It's a really, really unique approach. And what I particularly like about it is you do touch on that, the money mindset, because often I find that people who have problems saving either love or hate money, and usually they feel bad for being able to earn a lot of money. It's a very mixed up kind of relationship. Do you find that you address that in your consulting?
Hugely. It's a forefront. Whenever this is how we became coaches in the first place. Firstly, we worked on ourselves so we can identify limiting beliefs within ourselves. That's just been a natural personal development approach. And then we've done a lot of professional development around our communication skills for clients. But we've become really sharp at being able to identify when someone has a limiting belief, when someone has a belief that's really holding them back. And so, yeah, it was a surprise for me when I first discovered that, as what you're talking about, that some people, I assumed that most people just feared failure. This was 5 years ago. I just assumed everyone fears failure. That's what people are scared of. And then I saw how many people fear success.
Yeah, I know.
Fascinating.
It really is amazing. But if you don't have the tools and support system, or even the mindset around it, it's then easy to understand why people fear success.
Well, here's a fun activity for anyone who's listening. Think back to your 5 earliest money memories. If you think back to your past and you think all the way to when you're really young, as early as you can remember, what's the earliest memory you have about money? And think about what that is. And it might be something like it might be a kind of negative or a negative emotion which is attached to it, such as seeing your parents fight about money. It might be feeling like you really wanted something and your parents were saying, no, you can't have it, and you associated something really negative with that. And then it might be something completely different. It might be something which is really positive. It might be that someone gave you something which you really liked and you felt that money was just always there for you and always available. For myself, it was an interesting one. When I thought back to my earliest money memory, And it was, I'd go swimming, and my mum would take me swimming quite a few times. And I was quite a forgetful kid, and I often forgot about my goggles. And so the first time I forgot my goggles, my mum's like, okay, fine. You forgot your goggles. Don't do it again. I'll buy you another pair now. Okay, cool. Very fortunate, very lucky. Yay, I got a pair of goggles. Wonderful. Next week, sure enough, I forgot my goggles again. She said, well, I'm not going to buy you another pair of goggles. I told you that last time. Let's see if they've got any in Lost and Found. Oh, yes, there's one in Lost and Found. I'll borrow that one. Okay, great. Sure enough, the next week I forgot my goggles again. She said, well, I told you 2 weeks ago, I'm not going to buy you another pair. I told you I'm not going to buy another pair. You got to remember to pack them. And there were none in Lost and Found. And so I had a swimming lesson in the chlorine pool without goggles. For myself, that wasn't a negative experience because it was fair enough. I remember the thoughts being, yeah, well, that's fair enough. I'm the idiot who forgot his goggles. So I'm the one who's got to have to suffer the consequences. I'll remember my goggles in the future. Which, I don't know, my memory's a little bit hazy after that, but I think so, because I don't remember not having goggles too many times after. But the fascinating part there is that that's the learning which I got from it. And that was a really secure form of attachment, which I had, which I'm very lucky for. Other people might be in the same circumstance, might have had the exact same experience, and then they had a different perception. And the perception defined a different reality for them. We don't have enough money to be able to buy things that we need, so we can't ever make mistakes. So we've got to be really, really careful with how much we spend. There are plenty of examples we could go into that, but the beliefs which we have about money are so insightful for how we act about all of our resources in life, which include our time and our energy and the relationships that we have. They're all resources which we have. Financial assets is just a really nice kind of keyhole which you can look into and then see a little bit more about your past and your psyche based on how you interact with money.
Yeah, it is such an insightful way to go about it and actually get to the foundations that can really unlock a really positive financial future for people. So I know you've got a workshop coming up. Did you want to mention that?
Sure. Well, we're actually going to change tack slightly to make sure that that's more accessible. We had, I think what you're referring to is the Purpose Experience, which is an awesome experience and an event. It's a 2-day event where we focus on life planning and financial planning, where we're realizing that to take 2 consecutive Saturdays out of someone's calendar, even though now it's going to be online, is a little bit too intrusive. And it also doesn't give the effect of the long-term benefits of having a longer journey. This is something which is still in the works, so your listeners are literally hearing about it first. Oh, fancy! And I'll definitely be sure to give pass some information on to you to be able to pass on later on as well. But we're likely to start webinar type style of events which are focused on the specific outcomes that people are striving for. And then to remain
size pieces, is that what you mean?
Kind of. So the 3 main areas which we focus on with clients are they're getting more direction in their life, where they want to go, and understanding themselves and their psyche, managing cash flow. So how much money is coming in, going out, how do you actually manage that entire process, and how do you spend in line with your beliefs and your mindset, those types of things. And then investing. So how do you build wealth? Is it through property? Is it through shares? Is it through building a business? Is it through your career? How do you make sure that you continue to build your wealth? And so we'll very likely, this is still in the formation stage, so don't hold me to it. But we'll likely end up having weekly events for the topics. So over each 3-week period, we'll be touching on another subsect of each of those topics. And then people will be able to jump in and continue on their journey based off what's really most important to them. And they can carve out 2 hours every 1 to 3 weeks
Mm.
and focus on the particular areas of life which are most important. And then they can have it at a much more affordable, much more accessible way.
Mm. That sounds really, really interesting. Okay, so thanks very much for taking the time to talk to me today. If our listeners want to obtain more information, how can they do that?
Yeah, sure. It's been my pleasure to have a chat today as well. Yeah, if you're listening to this and you're curious and you want to have a chat, just jump onto our website and book in an intro call. You'll see links for it all over the place. You can check out all the stuff on our website as well. All of our prices and everything's there. But if you want to have a chat and if you just want to explore for a little bit, we'll make some time for you. You can just book in an intro call with myself or Tristan. We look forward to having a chat.
Okay, that's great. Well, everyone who's watching, thanks very much for taking the time to drop by and watch us here at the Property Frontline. If you want more information from us, come to our website, which is propertyfrontline.com.au, or drop me a line. And similar to Harry, there's lots of access points on my website as well. So thank you very much and have a good day.